Good evening, everybody. This meeting is called to order. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 22nd meeting of the Sachem Board of Education. Tonight, we've got a special group, Troop 92 from Winona and Cayuga, that's going to lead us through our Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand at this time for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our traditional moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you, girls. Great job. Okay, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Trombetta for the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight is board recognition night, and what we placed in front of the board members was charcuterie boards made by our own Sachem students. And they have the Sachem arrow with Board of Education and then an inscription on the back. And we just want to thank the board for all their hard work, time, dedication to the students, to the staff, and the community. They work very hard, a lot more than people know. Very difficult job, and they give up a lot of time away from their families. So we want to thank them. But we also want to say thank you to our students because they're very talented, and we thought this was a good way to thank them and show off their talents. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Before I pass it over to other guests that are here to address the board, I just want to remind everyone, next Saturday, we have our Sachem 5K, November 1st, and the registration for that is on our website. We're looking to have a lot more runners. Our mascots are practicing. If you got to see the video that Mr. Vaccaro put up on the website, you see the mascots getting ready for their race, which is exciting. We are having baskets, and that has gone out to the staff. We're doing some pre-sales for staff here. But we're excited to have that event again because it was a special event last year to recognize all that's special in Sachem. At this time, I'd like to invite up Shajada Gonzalez from our Sachem PTA Council to address the board.
Good evening. I'm Sujata Gonzalez. I'm the second vice president for Sachem PTA Council. And we wanted to have a short brief and state that we're gathered grateful and with your leadership and dedication and all you do to support Sachem's success. Thank you for all of us from Sachem PTA Council. We have our presents and we're going to hand them out shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patty, maybe you can mention that if people are out of shape and still like they can walk. They don't have to run.
Absolutely.
I need somebody to hang out with. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I'm like, do you want to give me Mia's? Leave it with them, and I'll make sure she gets it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jocelyn, while you're up next. We'll get one from Danny. No, there we go.
Good evening, Board President Reynolds, Vice President Scavo, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Trombetta, and members of the Cabinet. On behalf of the Sachem Supervisors Association, we are pleased to be here this evening to recognize and thank you for your extraordinary commitment to our school community. In appreciation of your dedication and service, a donation has been made in your honor to Team Sachem, who will be participating in the upcoming Brookhaven Town Polar Plunge, an annual fundraising event benefiting Special Olympics New York. Funds raised through this event help provide year-round sports training, competition, and health programs for Special Olympic athletes across the state at no cost to them or their families. We are proud to make this contribution in your name. Please accept this gift with our gratitude and continued appreciation for all that you do for students, staff, and our Sachem community. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jocelyn. I'd like to invite up John Galligan from the SAA.
Good evening, Board of Education members. President Reynolds, Vice President Scavo, Mr. Bauman, Mr. Isernia, Ms. Pikowitz, Ms. Meredith Volpe, Ms. Stephanie Volpe, Mr. Buckstein, and Ms. Schreck. On behalf of the Sachem Administrators Association, I would like to take a moment to express our sincere appreciation to the Sachem Board of Education. Each of you dedicates countless hours reading packets, documents, legal briefs, reports, memos, and emails, volunteering your time to attend meetings, multiple school events, and engaging with the community on a consistent basis. This proves your commitment reaches far beyond the boardroom. The decisions you make impact more than just policies and budgets. They shape the future of our district and the daily experiences of over 12,000 students and dedicated staff who support them. It is an incredible responsibility, one that few are willing to take on, and one that is far too often unrecognized and underappreciated. Yet through it all, even in times that present great challenges, your service and unwavering advocacy on behalf of the entire Sachem family reminds us of what makes this district truly special. It's people. People like each of you who have chosen to voluntarily sacrifice time with your own families in order to serve others. As Sachem's administrators, we remain committed to leading the staff in pursuit of the vision, mission, and strategic goals set forth by the Sachem Board of Education. Under the leadership of our superintendent, Mrs. Trombetta, along with her cabinet, we are very proud to carry out this vital work and continue this with pride and purpose, always striving to do what's best to support students, staff, and families of the community. With the holiday season approaching, and in recognition of your commitment to the community and our commitment to carrying out the will of your service, the Sachem Administrators Association has made a donation to the Sachem Food Pantry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I'd like to invite Mr. Barbera up from the SCTA.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, President Reynolds, Vice President Scavo, Board Trustees, and District Administration. Don't worry, I'm going to keep my speech to about 6-7 minutes. Come on, need more kids in here.
6, 7, you get it?
I didn't want to overdo it. As the president of the Sachem Central Teachers Association, I have the privilege of collaborating with you on behalf of our nearly 1,400 educators and staff across our 15 schools. On this school board appreciation week, I want to express our gratitude towards your leadership and your steadfast commitment to our students, our staff, and our community. Serving on a board is no small task. It means time away from your families, tough decision-making, and an ongoing effort to balance the needs of our school community. It is no secret that in a relationship, there are highs, there are lows, there's moments of celebration and disagreements. But I believe our relationship has always shared the ultimate goal of making Sachem the best place for our students and staff. Your willingness to listen to the voices of teachers and staff show a deep respect for the work we do and the children we serve. I can confidently say that the SCTA stands ready to continue the great work we have done together with the Sachem School Board, building a successful future for Sachem. On behalf of our union and the educators we represent, thank you for your partnership and your belief in the power of public education. October is Board of Education Awareness Month, but October is also known as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Sadly, cancer has become an all too common story in our communities. So we thought this would just be another opportunity for us to come together and work together. Please accept this certificate acknowledging a donation the SCTA has made in the name of in your name to the American Cancer Society Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. Happy School Board Appreciation Week. Thank you for all you do, and a special thank you to your families for all the time you sacrifice from them to support our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Mrs. DiPaolo from the UPSEU.
Good evening, Superintendent Trombetta, Board of Education President Reynolds, Vice President Scavo, Board Trustees, and Cabinet members. My name is Jennifer DiPaolo, and I'm the Vice President of the UPSEU Clerical Unit in Sachem. I'm honored to be here this evening on behalf of our unit to recognize and thank you during School Board Recognition Week. As a unit, we want to express our sincere appreciation for the hard work and dedication you show each and every day on behalf of our district. We understand the vital role you play in ensuring the success of all aspects of Sachem, educationally, operationally, and within the greater community. We recognize the time, energy, and difficult decisions your roles require, and we thank you for your unwavering commitment. As a token of our appreciation, UPSEU has made a donation in your name to the Sachem Food Pantry. Food insecurity continues to be a growing concern in our community, and the pantry plays a critical role in supporting our families across the district, whether on a daily, weekly, or occasional basis. This year, the pantry has expanded tremendously thanks to the efforts of our dedicated administrators, advisors, employees, and students. From securing grants to donating, shopping, stocking, organizing, packaging, and distributing to our families, this operation is truly a community-wide effort. We felt that the best way to honor you, our school board, was by giving back to the very community that you serve so selflessly. Thank you again for your service, your leadership, and your heart for Sachem.
Thank you, Jen. I'd like to invite our nurses up. I know I see Lori, Bernadette, and Katie. I don't know if there's more. Bernadette's not coming? Come on, Bernadette.
They don't want to come. That's all right. Good evening, President Reynolds, Vice President Scavo, trustees, Mrs. Trombetta, and Cabinet. I'm Katie Nicosia. I'm here with some of my colleagues from the Sachem Central Nurses Association. We'd like to take this moment to honor the Sachem Board of Education during New York State School Board Appreciation Week. As nurses, we recognize the important role you all hold as individual board members serving the students, staff, and families of Sachem. Your contributions as elected officials play a crucial role in the health and education of our children every day. In recognition of your service, the Sachem Central Nurse Association has also made a donation to in the Board of Education's name to the food pantry at our respective high schools that serve our community very well these days. Thank you, Board of Ed members, for your time, dedication, and commitment to our community.
Thank you. And at this time, we'd like to share a short video with you to thank you.
We want to say thank you to the people who make Sachem such a fun and special place to learn and grow.
Thank you for making sure we have amazing opportunities. Thank you for your leadership and the time you dedicate to our schools. Thank you for helping us learn in such creative and fun ways. You make a difference every day, even when you don't see it.
To our Sachem Board of Education, we want to thank you for your commitment and dedication to our community. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mrs. Trombetta. And again, thank you to all of the units. We greatly appreciate it. We truly appreciate your support. So thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to turn over our student board member report. It looks like, Daniel, you're running solo again. So let's hear from North.
All right. Thank you guys once again. You guys are great. So thank you. So first we had, shortly after our last meeting, we had, the homecoming dance and the homecoming pep rally, both of which were, very fun days. We had the pep rally. Each team did a little, choreographed dance or something, and everyone had a great time with that. And the dance was, super exciting, and everyone had a lot of fun. We had a lot of people there. And then the game against Pat Med, where they were able to get a win. It was a whiteout, and that was a very great time as well. And then the following week, we had a football game against Sachem East, which also went very well for us. Our student sections were in pink, and we were able to get the win. So I'd also like to congratulate our girls volleyball team, our field hockey team, and our girls soccer team on recently making the playoffs, and hope that they can get on a run and maybe win a championship. And hopefully more teams to come in the future. So today, actually, we had our blood drive, and lots of teachers and students participated. And there was actually a blood drop costume going around from class to class, getting people to donate. So it was a fun day, cool thing. A lot of kids and teachers were able to do it. And then finally, we had coming up next Thursday, we have our Safe Halloween. So there will be clubs handing out candy and decorating doors, and kids will come trick or treat, and that's another just really fun day for our school. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Daniel. Any questions from the board for Daniel? Nope. You're getting off easy. So thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Okay.
Mia's not here today. She has her senior night for gymnastics.
Great.
But also to mention, this Saturday we have homecoming at East. The game is at 2:00, but at 12 o'clock, our girls volleyball will play each other, North versus East, in the playoffs. So that's at 12 o'clock at East. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. All right, takes us to our approval of minutes. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Stephanie, second by Jessica. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Visitors, I've got one visitor, Allison. Mrs. Petrosini. Let you come up now. Nope, since you only got one, we'll let you come up now.
Oh, okay. Well, it is kind of empty. I was just calling regarding the outcome of my attendance at a meeting last year. I'm a senior citizen. I don't work anymore. I'm on a fixed income. I inquired as to why Sachem is one of the school districts of 4 last year that hasn't raised the limit on the income for senior citizens when they get a star exemption and get a little bit off their taxes. So I think Michelle was very helpful. She gave me information, and she says it has to have a public hearing in order to get a resolution. I was just wondering what happened in the interim, because I got my notice on what my exemption is going to be. For your information, in case you didn't know it, Sachem is one now of only 2, because right now I think West Islip and Conequat went on board to raise the limit for taxes, like your income that you have. You have it at $37,400, okay? Everybody else has it in accordance with the state, which is $58,400. Logical. I don't understand why Sachem doesn't raise it. Now, my taxes, I was looking at the cards with the star exemptions, the county, the highway, 50%, 50%. Sachem, 5 years ago, 50%. Then it was 40%. I just got my card last week. It was 25%. Where is it going? Where is the money going? Why is it at the expense of the seniors? I live here since 1993. I came from Brooklyn. I have no children, had nobody in the system. I paid my taxes. I never argued. I thought it was a wonderful thing. On a fixed income now, it's kind of hard. And then I looked at some of the things on the agenda and the budget that you had, and there were some things I really found questionable. I mean, there's a lot of proctoring and tutoring services. Like I saw these 4 or 5 companies that just within the past couple of months, waiting for your signature to approve it. Why do you need tutoring and services, which years ago you used to pay for it if you needed the help? I mean, what are the teachers doing that you require the tutoring services? I'm sorry, I don't want to subsidize that. I don't understand why. You got things in there like classroom observations, $130 an hour for some people. You got, we're donating parentally placed students with disabilities. And I'm not against, I'm for everybody. But why is Sachem doing this for Comac, which is a union-free school district? Another thing is South Country School District of Patchwork. What are we doing? Is that part of Sachem? Is that part of Sachem's school districts? Or are they separate school districts with their own budgets, their own money, and how they spend it? So why are all these line items? Maybe I don't understand it. I wasn't going to get into all that. I just want to know, how can you adopt a change to increase the limit on the income for seniors, so we can get a little bit more of our tax money back? Again, since 1993, I've been paying into it. I don't have as much, and I'm not moving away. I refuse, but I'll keep showing my face and keep writing to. I have to. I've already gone to the town about things. I go to the state. I'm not shy about getting in touch with, find out who's responsible, and I find and plead my case. So that's pretty much it. You didn't do anything. I don't understand. I went last year. What is a public hearing? Is this a public hearing? No. So when did the public hearing happen between last year when I?
So we're going to
attended?
actually have that discussion. This is public comment, so we're really not going to go back and forth, but we're going to have a public discussion tonight about some of the exemptions on senior taxes. You're welcome to stay. But we did get your email as well, and we'll look to follow up as appropriate.
When it's appropriate. That's what you said to me last year. It's like, kicking the can down the road, no offense. I would have expected some kind of response by now. And I've been given.
We'll have administration respond to the email you just sent this week, okay?
That was this week. That's what I got last year.
Right, okay.
So
I didn't
whole
tell you
year,
that
the
last year.
taxes are gonna become
Yeah.
due. I'm gonna have to
Yep.
pay more taxes.
And all those things you mentioned, we're adhering to state law. So, and again, we'll circle back with you. We'll have administration get
I
back to you.
didn't see it in the agenda. I was told it would be in the agenda and I went through with a fine tooth comb.
It's
That's
on the
the
agenda
reason-
for tonight for board discussion around senior exemptions and things like that, so.
Oh, you did
Okay,
list
yeah.
it? I didn't see it on,
Okay.
on the website.
Yep.
Okay, I
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Yep,
I'll
thank
be
you.
hanging around. Thank you.
Allison, any other visitors? Okay, thanks. Okay. Oh, no worries. We're good. Yeah, we're all good. Okay. Okay, takes us to section 3, business items, consent agenda A through E. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Rob, second by Meredith. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Reynolds,
Mike?
I'd like to make a motion to remove item E and vote on that separately on this agenda. I think, I don't even know if it's legal to have that on a consent agenda.
Look to Ed for that.
I think as a matter of practice, you probably have voted on this previously as a standalone item. I'm not sure if it's a question of law. It's more of a question of practice. So Mike has the authority to, and the ability to make that motion to separate it from the consent agenda.
Okay,
So
so,
we vote A through, consent agenda A through D, and then we'll go on a motion.
so we have a motion to take E out, and Rob, I think, seconded. Questions on that? Okay, all in favor of that?
All right,
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. So we're going to do consent agenda A through D. We have a motion on that? Motion by Rob, second by Stephanie. All in favor?
all right.
Opposed? Motion carried. And Ed, we just do a separate motion now to vote on E. So we'll have a motion to, for section E, which is the agreement of sale for 245 Union Avenue. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Mike, second by Rob. Questions or comments? Stephanie?
Is there a date of close?
I think it
I'm
was
sorry, did I-
November 20, on or before November 24th, I believe.
Okay.
So we
Is
resolved,
that going to get delayed or anything? Because
so we resolved all the title issues, Michelle. We got a clear title, and then we set the date with the Suffolk County, right?
And it's the week of Thanksgiving.
Yes,
It's on or
So
before, right?
the title, we had an affidavit to waive the last piece from 1867 about us being school district number 10. Then the only other item remaining was to close the building permit. I filed the final cost report on October 10th. I did speak to State Ed this afternoon, and they said they were going to push that final cost report through tomorrow so that by either Friday or Monday, we should have the paperwork that the building permit's been closed. So then we are clear to close.
Great. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is that an opposition? Okay. Motion carried. Okay. Section 4, personnel, consent teachers, consent agenda A through M. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Matthew, second by Stephanie. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Section 5, personnel, support staff, consent agenda A through G. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Stephanie, second by Meredith. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Section 6, personnel administrators, consent agenda A through B. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Matthew, second by Rob. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Section 7, contracts, consent agenda A through K. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Dennis, second by Michael. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Section 8, donations, consent agenda A through C. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Stephanie, second by Jessica. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Allison will get the appropriate thank yous out. Thank you. Section 9, Committee on Special Education, Consent Agenda A through B. Can I have a motion by Matthew, second by Stephanie? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Section 10, Monthly Reports. Do we have any updates on monthly reports? Go ahead, Steph. Legislative, I guess?
All right, we're hitting the ground running with the legislative committee. One of the two things that I wanted to bring up tonight was we wanted to go to Albany in January or February, either end of January or mid-February. We know it's going to be cold. We know there's snow. We need to get up there because last year we tried to go for March and it just never materialized. And then do I have permission to put two people in the audience on notice and ask them for help? Is one there, two there? We need a bus. So if the Teachers Union or Sachem Educational Foundation or anybody, that was something we were discussing in the legislative committee, if we could, beg for a bus. So that's what I'm doing.
Questions from
two
the board on
major-
that or comments on that? Okay. Okay. So you'll provide then sort of an agenda of what we want to accomplish in Albany, or the group's got that?
It's coming.
It's coming? Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of, we have enthusiastic members who were going to fine tune it.
Okay.
And that's another thing, we need to reach out to the, the teachers union, obviously. And if Chris wants to, it's,
No. So we'll, so if you have questions for, the units, let's certainly gather those up and we can get the appropriate
Yes.
channel and engage, anybody as appropriate, right?
and PTA lobby day we
Okay.
wanted to be involved in.
Jess?
Oh, just that Stephanie and I had worked together and I had spoke at council and they are also interested in sort of advocating. So we'll be
Okay.
presenting to council and just they're interested in helping us with this. So
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Meredith. Yeah.
So also with the legislative committee, we met and everybody kind of really got a feel for one another. And one of our committee members, who happens to be in the audience, Paul, he's very well versed in lobbying up at Albany. And so I think he opened our eyes a little more. And I think in years past, maybe we weren't as successful as we wanted to be because maybe we didn't have as great of an understanding. Now we have a much better understanding. So if anybody is able to come up with busing for us, I think that it won't be a futile effort. I think that we know a lot more now and we have a lot more, as I say, every week we have a deficit that's half as much money as our unfunded mandates. So if we could really get people together to kind of go up to Albany with an agenda, with things specifically that we're going to stand there and speak to our politicians about, I think we'll be a lot more successful. And anybody in the community who wants to help us out, please let us know.
Okay. So I guess from my perspective, if the board liaisons with the committee can come up with an agenda, what is it we're going to, do when we're up in Albany?
We're
Who we're
actually
going to go
meeting
see?
more
Right?
often.
And I think
Yeah.
share that with the board and make sure that the board is aligned with what we want
Yes.
to do. And
Yes. And we're
Fine.
meeting more often because they're enthusiastic. So it's great. Like we have a
Okay.
Zoom coming up on Monday,
Okay.
which we're going to hammer all this out on Monday, but we have a great committee.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Any other committees? Okay. Quiet. Good. Okay. Closing comments. Allison, no other comments. Okay. Takes us to old business. We've got demographer updates. I don't know if we have anything, Patty, or
Yes, Michelle's going to just briefly tell us
Yep,
our update
perfect.
with Ross.
So I did speak with or emailed with Mr. Haber and his associate, Mr. Ammon. They have all of the information, all the data they have collected. They're done, almost done with their process. They received the updated student listing the beginning of October from the Beds Day. They conducted their interviews with our middle school principals, did the walkthroughs of the buildings. So the last item that they're working on right now is the new housing developments within the district. So I did give them the contact information for the 3 town assessors' offices, and they were reaching out to them today.
and when are they scheduled to come back to us? Was it not until late November, or are they coming back next meeting?
So we are going to schedule a Teams meeting with them either, early next week, just to see where they are in the process and then get them back in either for our November 5th meeting or yeah, I
So
think
before
it's the 19th.
Thanksgiving, we should have an
Before
update?
Thanksgiving, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay. Takes us to section 13, board discussion items. And on tonight's agenda, we have two things for open discussion, which is statewide volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker exemption, as well as exemption for senior citizens with limited income and persons with disability and limited income. Michelle, can I just put you on the spot? Maybe can you frame this discussion for us? What's being asked of us here? And then,
Absolutely.
thank you.
So just as a little background, when these exemptions, when changes to the laws come up, in order for a change to the exemption to come into effect, the board would have to have a public hearing and vote on a resolution before March 1st for that exemption to be in effect for the next school year, taxable year. So that's why we're having this conversation now, so that if any changes want to be made with the two exemptions, we would have to do it before this March for it to be in effect for the 26-27 tax year, because we're already in the 25-26 tax year.
So the discussion we're going to have tonight is if we want to make any changes, to have that public hearing and get a resolution.
Prior to March
Prior
1st,
to March
so that
1st.
it would be in effect for the next tax year. Yes. So for the volunteer firefighter and ambulance workers exemption, it really is a small change. When we spoke to the three towns and asked them what the impact would be, the response from all three towns was it was so inconsequential it wouldn't even be noticed on anybody's tax roll. It's just changing the years of service to be eligible to receive the exemption. It's a 10% exemption from 5 years of service down to 2 years of service. And what we heard from most of the three towns that we spoke with was that this is a recruitment tool to get people to volunteer, but also most of these volunteers still live in their parents' homes. So they're not even on the tax roll yet anyway. So that was the main change, was having the years of service go from 5 years down to 2 years. Everything else that they were talking about in the legislation remained the same. The exemption is 10%. It's from 2 years up to 20 years of service. They consider 20 years a lifetime service. And it's also maintaining the exemption if you're the spouse of a firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker who dies in the line of duty, allowing them to keep that exemption. So according to the three towns, it would be a very inconsequential amount of tax liability that would get shifted to the other property owners within the towns.
Let's pause there for a second, maybe open this up for board conversation if anybody has questions or comments on that particular topic. Go ahead, Meredith.
I think as volunteers, we all know how hard it is to get volunteers. And like you said, my son is a volunteer firefighter. He lives in my house. So even if this were to take effect, it wouldn't affect him as a firefighter. Most of the people who do go into the volunteer firefighter ambulance, the first 2 to 5 years, most of them are 18 to 20 something years old. So I really don't feel like this would be a huge burden on the taxpayers.
Go ahead, Steph.
I fully supporting this. So if we can go forward with that, I support it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so
but
it sounds like,
that's-
so I guess we'll take a leaning to move this to a public hearing then?
Just a point of clarification. It's 10% on the school taxes only, right? So if we're paying $7,500 or $8,000 in school tax, it's $800 a year savings by being a volunteer first responder. It's not on the entire tax, you know.
Right.
Okay. And the thing is that the fact that we already have it in place now, it's really going to have no impact on other taxpayers. So understand that when we give a tax break, okay, or we do an initiative like this here, okay, some people benefit from it and the other people don't benefit from it. Other people, that either way, we have to collect a certain amount of taxes.
Correct.
So what happens is when we make an exemption, okay, for one group, the rest of the community has to pick up that cost.
Correct.
And that could range anywhere from $35 to $55 or sometimes $100 a year. Okay, so over a period of 10 years, it's costing the taxpayer anywhere from $350 to $1,000 more.
Correct.
So this really doesn't come into that.
No, actually, even one of the towns told us it only impacts 3 individuals within the town for a total tax of $12,000.
And the purpose of this really is that volunteer fire departments are having a real time finding volunteers. I mean, our particular BOCES actually started a fire rescue program to try and help and recruit, and train people to be able to, hit the ground running when they leave school, whether it's a New York, New York Fire Department, New York City Fire Department, or volunteers to really get them involved. And it's actually being not only is it being run by our school, but it's actually being run in a firehouse in Copiague. So there's a big push right now to get volunteers, and this is just one incentive to do so. So
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? So it sounds like we'll move this to a public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'll get the wording from the towns and the attorneys for the public hearing.
Great. And Michelle, if you could just walk us through or help us out on the second one, which was exemption for senior citizens / persons with disabilities and limited income.
Correct. So this initially came up in the fall of 2022 is when the law changed, and the earliest it could have gone into effect was the March of 23 for the 23-24 tax year. And it was a move from the old maximum was $29,000 in income, and it had a sliding scale up to $37,400. And I have this sheet of paper, I put it in your folders, and that'll show you, I have the sliding scale on one side so you can see what those old amounts were. And you'll see that at $29,000 under the old threshold, seniors and the disabled individuals with limited income were entitled to the 50% exemption. And then as the income was over $29,000, it gradually decreased the amount of the exemption up to the $37,400. So back in 2023, the state increased the amount of this exemption. You could go up to $50,000 with a sliding scale reduction in the amount of the exemption up to $58,400. There were, I believe at that time, only one or two districts opted to go straight to the $50,000 limit with the sliding scale up to the $58,400. Other districts chose to wait to see how that would impact other taxpayers, because a couple of things have happened now in the interim. First, if you do that shift to $50,000, it's very difficult for the towns to quantify how that is going to impact the other taxpayers. And then the other item that happened just a year ago was the state changed the definitions of income. And all the towns, the counties, and the school districts had to decide, are they picking a new definition of income, or are we leaving things the same? So that also was a shift. So on the advice of some of the towns we were receiving was, you don't want to jump all in at the $50,000 because you don't know how that's going to impact your community when you implement this, because it's important to note that once you raise the income level, you cannot lower it. So some of the districts during these last couple of years, there have been quite a few that have chosen to go up to the maximum, but we still have quite a few that are kind of somewhere in between, the same way that Sachem is right now. So speaking with, like, for example, the town of Smithtown, they were able to give us an estimate, but it's based on last year's data because that's the only data we have. So we don't know if that's a true indication of how it's going to be. But for Smithtown, you would be looking at roughly about $58 shifted annually to the non-seniors or individuals with a limited income. And then for the town of Brookhaven, we were looking at somewhere around $35, $36. The town of Islip, we weren't able to get the figures for that amount. But the town of Islip was the one that cautioned us to say, if you're concerned about how it's going to impact everybody else, do it in increments, because like I said, you raise it, but you can't lower it. And you can make that change before March 1st of every year for the upcoming new tax year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Michelle on this one? Michael?
Michelle, you got to remind me again. I know I know this came up. It was last year. There was a push to get us to change what would be recognized as income, and we talked about it, how it would, and if we did that, how it would negatively impact our seniors. It was because they wanted us to adopt a provision,
Option 2.
which would have
Option 2 was to include 401k and annuities
distributions
into income,
Into income.
because pensions are calculated into the definition of income. So that would kind of level for retirees. The district chose not to do that. We chose to keep the current definition of income, didn't adopt one of those options.
Yeah, because if we had done that, when they applied for their exemption, they would have had to include any annuity payments, any distributions for their 401ks would have negatively impacted. Well, it would have raised their income for the purpose of the exemption.
It would have so you would have raised the income threshold, but the new definition of income would have wiped it out and made them not eligible for it. So it would have almost been a net zero.
So had
if
we
you did
done that, we might have caused many seniors in the district to have almost no exemption this year.
Correct.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure. And like Rob was mentioning too, anything we do here, any increase in exemption that we provide to anyone is going to be absorbed by the rest of the taxpayers. That's why you're saying that the towns have a very difficult time telling us what that impact could be.
Correct.
It's a net zero sum game, right? So we're going to get enough tax dollars, but where it's coming from now becomes a question.
Correct. Correct. So like when we set our levy, when the budget votes, it's a dollar amount. That dollar amount, I believe Mr. Scavo said it, is going to be collected one way or another,
It's a
depending
matter
on.
of who's paying for it.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Meredith had something in there, Rob. Yeah.
So basically, if we voted to do a little bit for this coming March, do we have to wait until the following March if we see that it didn't impact, we're talking
Yes.
about approximately $5 a month for every non-senior citizen taxpayer that doesn't make less than this amount in income. It's not every senior, they just have to make these numbers in their household income.
To be eligible for the exemption.
Right. So it's not like across the board, if you're a senior citizen, you're automatically
Correct.
going
You
get
have to
an
make
exemption.
less than the threshold.
Okay. And then do we have to wait until the following March if
Yes,
we want to go up a little
Because
bit more?
March 1 is the deadline, then they prepare the tax rolls for the upcoming year. So you
Okay.
can't keep making changes.
Okay. So we could do a little bit each March. But basically Smithtown, it was about $5 a month for all the other taxpayers
Mhm.
because they did that.
That's
And
an
it's-
estimate based on the exemptions this year and
50 a
the,
year, so $5 a month.
Yeah.
Is there any way for us to know how many, like, how would we find it? Because we're 3 different townships. How would we find out how many eligible senior households we have?
I would have to get that from the assessor's office.
Okay, so can we get that so we're a little bit more prepared? Because
So the number of senior households. I
the
mean,
number
what
of
we get the-
eligible
well,
senior households.
that changes every year with income. So we get the exemption impact report, which we have for 2025, which tells us the number of households based on the income definitions that the district selected and based on the exemption threshold. We have that number for 2025.
But we don't know.
But we don't know how, if we
We don't know
change
the
the
difference
threshold,
between the
how it's going
37,000
to shift it.
and the 50.
And the towns can't tell us that until after it happens.
Okay. And there's no way for us to know the difference of how many households would be affected if we brought this
If
from
we
the
raise it, no.
37,000 to the 50-something thousand.
No.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Rob, Stephanie, and then Mike.
Yeah, last year, when it was brought to our attention that the townships were actually recommending option 2, which would have included those annuities and those payments as part of income. And those senior citizens actually came to board meetings and said, look, I would lose my exemption, my taxes would go up $3,000. And what this board did was we went against the recommendation of all of the 3 townships and Suffolk County. Okay. And we took a hard stance to say, no, we don't want to hurt our senior citizens. But when I look at some of the districts, and I remember last year, many of the districts adopted option 2. All right.
Okay.
So those districts that are given $57,000, okay, also included those incomes.
Mhm.
All right. But we didn't do that. We took a position where we weren't going to hurt our senior citizens, and as a result, once again, that burden falls on the taxpayers. So we could renew, that's renewable every year, right? We could actually
Yes.
revisit that every year. And if we go up to the $57,000, the board might want to have a discussion and say, well, then we want to choose option 2. And then it's a wash. It really is a wash. So we have to be really careful. I mean, this is taxpayer money that, that we're playing with. And look, we saw in the last budget when we tried to pierce it, it failed miserably. people are at a breaking point where they're struggling. They're struggling. Even people that are not on fixed incomes are struggling in this district, and a lot of that has to do with the lack of state aid that we're getting from New York State. And then so we just got to be careful. I mean, if we're going to revisit, then we have to revisit the whole thing. And that's just my opinion.
Steph, and then Mike.
Do we know how many households qualify for it now? At the 37,000? And that would give us an idea of how many would qualify if we, more or less, we're going up higher, so more would qualify, but how many now? Like, what impact is it now?
I can get that in your Friday letter. I have
Okay.
the exemption impact reports.
Okay. Mike?
Actually, Rob brought up my very point. I was going to ask Michelle if she knew, but actually our counsel over here knew that Smithtown had decided to go with option 2 and include the pensions and the annuities. So of course they washed out, they raised the thing, but they washed it out. So he answered my question.
Okay. All right. So either way, it sounds like though we need a public hearing on this if we're going to vote on it. So we'll get the public hearing scheduled as well. Okay. Yeah. Take a leaning. Everybody's in favor of public hearing.
Well, it's 2 different public hearings.
Yeah.
You're mixing, once again, we'd have to have a public hearing separate from that, choosing that option 2, option B. So
When does that option 2 come up? When do we?
To change the
Yeah, when-
definition of impact?
Yeah.
I would think it's the same time.
Same time frame?
I'll check with the towns.
Yeah, and then perhaps if can we combine all 3 of these topics then in one public hearing, or do we need 3 separate public hearings?
You would need 2 separate public hearings on 2 different natures of the exemption. So I think that in terms of the definition of income,
That's
you
a
would have
separate
said,
one.
you would have the one on the volunteer firefighters, and then the senior and disabled individual
Mhm.
is a separate public hearing. So you have 2 public hearings, and within that public hearing, you could have a conversation about the definition of income. So it's 2 public hearings. Again, the board has to duly notice the public hearings for each one of these exemptions. You have to open the public hearing, allow for public comment, close the public hearing, and then you can take action on the same night of the public hearing to adopt the exemption, or you can wait. But the real property tax law does require affirmative noticing of a public hearing for each exemption.
Okay. So it sounds like, Mike, is that satisfactory to you then? Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, same night, we'll just have different ones. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay. Takes us to future items. Section 14, anything for future board discussions? Meredith.
So, as we all are enamored by things like this board that our students do for us, and having the troops come in the past couple meetings and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us, I was thinking that maybe we could reach out to our ASL students, and maybe we could have some students do the pledge, and if they would possibly be able to do sign language for the board meeting for the people at home that may be hearing impaired. And then we're helping people that have a disability while we're showcasing our children.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
It's something as we're going, we're talking about trips to Albany, which I think are a great idea. I've been on 2 of them myself. And they come be beneficial. I went up with, I don't know, how many, 400 teachers that one year, rode up to Albany, and it was a great experience. But something that we should start thinking about is that when we look at what we get in state aid, okay, this year we received we received $640,000 on a $380 million budget, which is less than 1%. And I think part of the problem is that, New York State is very quick to collect the money, but not very, very quick to divvy it out. Long Island's clearly getting shortchanged. But then when you look at, the effect that they're looking at data to determine our poverty levels from 2000, right? Not year 2000 or 2001, our district has gotten poorer. Our demographics have changed. Okay, and we're looking at data that goes back 25 years ago. And as a result, that impacts our combined wealth ratio. So if our combined wealth ratio drops another 0.2 percent, we're in the same category as Middle Country. Right? And Middle Country got $10 million in state aid this year. and that's really what's hurting us. So what I'm proposing is, and I know it doesn't have a lot of impact, but I think we have a due diligence to be able to do so, is we construct a letter that goes up to Albany and we address it to Kathy Hochul and State Education Department, that if they're going to look at data to determine state aid, they should be looking at accurate data, okay, maybe from this decade, not from 2000, because it greatly impacts districts like ours. This year we're looking at a lot of tremendous, we have a tremendous burden ahead of us, and that burden is that we have a $15 million shortfall, and we're going to be making these decisions very, very soon about what we're keeping and what's going. And I think, whether the letter is successful or not, I think in that letter we should at least say, look, we understand that if you're going to be, proposing state aid to districts, use current data. Don't use data that's 25 years old. So I don't know how the board feels about that. I think that, we could put that letter on our website and maybe get people behind it. Maybe get a lot of our groups to maybe sign off on it as well. We could sign on, Vinny could sign on behalf of the Board of Education, but maybe Phil could sign on behalf of the STA. And I don't want to put them on the spot, but once again, they have to use accurate data. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to consistently get shortchanged. Okay. And we're going to be tremendously impacted. Our kids are the ones that are going to be impacted by that. So
we actually addressed that with Doug Smith, the assemblyman. We brought up that very topic, right? To say using old data. In our last conversation with Doug, he had one of the budget guys from New York State Education on the phone. And I think it was a shock to him to say, okay, I didn't know that. Let's look at that. So we've got a follow-up meeting with Doug coming in November as well. So it's open to.
I wish they would use the data from 2000 to project our taxes, our property taxes. That'd be
Right.
phenomenal. But
Right,
the thing
'cause,
is that,
so we've addressed it there. So we can talk about a letter, but that's the purpose of our meetings with our assemblymen. Go ahead, Steph. I know you were at that meeting. So go ahead, jump in.
She's
She's
getting-
busting.
Meredith,
Go ahead.
we're doing it as a legislative committee, and I think if we do draft a letter, that will help us bring it up to Albany. But it is definitely on our radar. We've had discussions about it. We've explained as best as we could. I'm roping in poor Michelle to explain it better because I'm not a financial guru. And, when people ask me a question, sometimes I don't explain it as well as you can. But yes, so I'm full in agreement if we want to write a letter, but we're going to do more than write a letter this year because it's ridiculous.
the question is, do we want to wait until January when they're already working on?
No, it can be
on
posted and we can bring it
So-
up and be like, why didn't you answer our letter?
Go ahead, Mike.
So you have a follow-up meeting with Doug on the 2nd?
What? I'm not sure when it's. We have a date. Got it.
What I was going to suggest is have that meeting, and at that meeting discuss this, but then tell them we're going to memorialize this conversation and our
It's
concerns in a
November
letter
12th.
to you.
November 12th.
Yeah, November 12th,
So have that meeting with him
3:00 in his
and
office.
send a follow-up letter memorializing that conversation. Ask him if he wants.
Yeah, this was one of the,
Have
we
him
talked
dress-
about it at our first meeting, second meeting we had. He brought in the budget guy for New York State Education. We laid out a whole bunch of issues with him. But yeah, we'll follow
Or
up on
we
the
send a letter to him before we go to that meeting.
3:00.
Maybe send that meeting before we go to that meeting. Send that letter as a follow-up and conversation starter. Right.
Yep.
Make Mr. McCarthy drive.
Yeah. Okay, great point. Steph, go ahead.
My topic I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
There might be a possibility
Wait, let me
that
just pause 1 second. Was there
Oh, sorry.
anything else on this topic? We're good there? Okay, go ahead.
there's huge discussion that food stamps are going to be given to everybody in November. So we're going to have a huge hit of families going into the holiday that are food insecure. So I don't know if we want to do something as a board, if we want to push out more to donate to our high school's food pantries. What do we want to do collectively to make sure that our kids aren't home starving over Thanksgiving? And I'm using starving again because it's so upsetting.
I think the most important thing is our food pantries have been being utilized a lot more. We're pushing them out district-wide. There are a form people can fill out, but it's all about knowing, and we're counting on our staff to know the families that are in need. At Thanksgiving, Christmas, we give those big boxes, and we are doing Blessings in a Backpack, where that program has grown, as well as the food pantry. So it's just a matter of making sure that the community knows we have the means to help them. We just need them to ask if no one's asking them. And there's no shame in that
A
there's
lot of-
ways to do it very privately,
Yeah.
but we definitely want to help anyone that's in need.
There's a lot of people that don't realize that they're not going to get their November food stamps, and they're not going to know until they go to use it. And then we're going to be in a crisis as a district with a lot of kids who weren't food insecure because they were getting food stamps, and now are going to suddenly be food insecure. So,
I
you
think
know,
we can
again,
rely,
keeps me up at night.
we can rely on Mr. Vaccaro to push it out more on social media like
Thank
he's
you.
been doing, just reminding any family that's in need that there's means for them, us to help them, and ways to do it privately.
Sabrina and then Meredith.
So I know that we're going to get into budget discussion soon. I wonder if in our Friday packet, if the board agrees with this and if it's even possible. 2 years ago, we put up a budget to pierce the cap, and I know I'll get booed from saying that. But I remember a document that Michelle provided for us, where we were basically going to increase our budget like almost by 4 million each year had we done that. Is there any way to kind of give a estimated of where we would have been right now had we pierced the cap then? And what we would still have included? Like, we would still have elementary clubs, we would still have certain things would still be in place, because those were cuts that came after the piercing got cut. Class sizes, I know there were teachers that got cut after we didn't pierce the cap. So I'm just looking at, you know, again, if that conversation does come up when budget gets, I would like to have that data to say, hey, this is where we would have been. We wouldn't have had to do these things. We would have had these conversations, just to kind of get a picture of what could have been. And if we do have to get to that point this year again, at least then maybe some people will be an eye opener to say, wow, had we done it then, we'd be in a different position now. Maybe this is something we have to do. Obviously, we need the budget. There's a lot of other things that'll take place, but at least just to be proactive in our conversations and in our data when we have those conversations.
Yeah.
So if everybody's okay
Everybody's
with that.
okay with that? Yeah, perfect.
Just had a
Got Meredith and then Jess.
So on the flip side, there are people in this community that can afford to give a little bit more. So for those people who want to donate to our food pantries, can we make that somehow very visible, like maybe a QR code, or like, because some people don't just give food and say, here you go. Some people might want to actually just say, oh my God, it's so much easier for me to just donate some money.
Sure. Both our high schools do huge food pantry, Thanksgiving drives.
Yes.
But right now we're also doing Pack the Bus, and they're doing food pickup. So every elementary school, every middle school, every high school has been collecting the goods for the food pantry, and they're going around. It's starting this week and to next week, summarizing both homecomings basically with Pack the Bus to provide more food to the food pantry. But anyone that is in the community that is interested, that both senior classes, both high schools do a great job, and they collect donations as well as food.
Okay. Is there something, like, if I want to make a monetary donation right now, is there a way that I can do it from my phone, or do I have to actually bring money to someplace?
Right now, you'd have to bring money to someplace because they're the means of where would it be going? It's not going into someone's specific Venmo or something like that. We don't have the account for that. Everything goes through our central treasurer in each building.
Okay, so I could write a check to each building and just mail it straight to the building?
You can mail it straight to the building. You can mail it up to us, and we make sure it gets to the building, whatever's easiest.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Jess and then Mike.
Just on Sabrina's point, is there any way to like quantify the academic effects of some of the things that were moved from piercing the cap, like trends in test scores or GPAs going down as a result of taking out these extras because we couldn't pierce the cap?
We could take a look at our test scores, but I don't know if that'd be easy to quantify because you'd have to say this is the reason it went down, as opposed to, because the state is changing tests left and right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could quantify it that way.
Mike and then Rob.
Let's jump back to the food pantry. And do you know if the food pantry would accept like Stop and Shop gift cards, ShopRite gift cards?
They absolutely do.
Okay. Do they want them in specific amounts?
The larger the better, I would imagine.
No, I mean, sometimes they want it.
Usually, no, we want them smaller amounts.
Right,
like
that's what I was
in
asking, yeah.
increments of 20s, because then it's controlled more. I know the grant that they received, one of the donations was some of the gift cards for the families, because some families do receive the money as well as supplies, something that we don't have in stock.
Right. I was going to ask, it's like we donated to the vets and they wanted them in like $20 increments. Okay.
Just, I know we're going back and forth between budget and the food pantry, but with the food pantry, something I would recommend is maybe having our students reach out to Suffolk County Police Department outreach program. I've seen it firsthand. It's a phenomenal program. I mean, especially around Thanksgiving time, they get so many donations of food that even after all of the people go through the line and they collect boxes of food, there's still a ton left over. You know, and when I suggest, and I don't know if we're doing it, please stop me if I am, so I'm not, you know, but are we already partnered with them, or if we're not, I have a contact that we could reach out to.
We're not partnered with them right now. We're partnered with the other foundations. What we're needing more, because the food pantry is stocked, we need families to reach out to us more. We need families to realize that if they need help, we want to help, because we also don't want to have the food pantry where things expire and then we're getting rid of food, because one of the jobs every week is to go through the expirations. Like even when they do at North, I know, and Annie can speak directly on the North one, when they do the Thanksgiving drive, we have so many additional boxes that we give to different foundations that need it then. So it's a matter of partnering, but also families asking for the help because it's there for help.
Once again, talking about partnerships, maybe what we need to do, we get donations, my school, okay, my department, my culinary arts department, we sometimes take 10, 12 cases, 15 cases of turkeys and box goods that we then further forward to soup kitchens, you know, and homeless shelters. So the question is that if we have an abundance of food, maybe we need to reach out to some of our organizations out there, whether it be religious organizations, fraternal organizations, and maybe donate to them for them to give to their members, you know, that are in need, because it is hard. I mean, look, when you're down on your, you know, on your luck and you're not doing well, people have a lot of pride. They don't want to come out and you know, and say, look, you know, I really need the help, you know, so, but they do need the help, but maybe through their fraternal organization or their religious religious organization, they're willing to take it. So we could actually, you know, I know we want to find families in Sachem, and there are plenty. There's fraternal organizations and there's religious organizations in Sachem that we can actually say, hey, you know, before this expires, we want to give you this food to distribute to your members. You know, it's a good way of moving it, you know, so that it's not going bad.
Okay. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to go back to budget for a second. So tonight we approved the budget development calendar. So Michelle, today's the 22nd. The first budget presentation to the board is on January 30th. Can we do something in between that? I know you've got a lot of steps to do, but similar to what we did last year, can we get a preview? Because again, we're going into very choppy waters and I don't want our backs to be up against the wall. So if we can do something
I was
sooner
planning on
and more frequent.
doing something in December
Yeah.
to tie in with looking at our capital projects and, you know, doing some of those measures that would be cost-saving measures that Mr. Buckstein had brought up. We are gathering that data and looking at different projects. And then early in December, we do get our, like the health insurance costs and things like that. So I can start
Yeah, that'd be great.
wherever I can build and know.
Yep.
certain
And
numbers.
almost make an assumption that if nothing else changed with the state aid stayed the same, what does that look like? What's our deficit starting to look like?
Okay.
So at least we can start getting ahead of that. Is it, okay, who?
Yeah,
who's
I was
first, Mike,
going
or-
to say in December, you're going to get the rates, right? You should get the healthcare rates.
I should get the at the beginning of December. Yes.
And based on current staffing, you probably can project very close to what our contractual increases would be.
We have personnel getting ready to work on that.
So that's 76% of our budget right there,
So
right?
that's-
Right,
yeah, we got a lot to at
Fixed
least
right
work on.
there.
Right.
So,
Yep.
And then our debt service, we already
right,
know
right,
those
and we know
figures
that,
and
right.
things like that.
So you could really give us those numbers you can.
Yes.
I wouldn't hold you to them exactly, but you're going to give us numbers that are pretty good projections.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Meredith and then Stephanie? Oh. Meredith, oh.
So Michelle, I hate to put more on your plate, and I know you gave us a really good, very detailed presentation a couple of board meetings ago about unfunded mandates, because once again, we have at least double the amount of money in unfunded mandates as we have in a deficit. So could you give me, for the legislative committee, the ones that you feel are the most important that we could work on the quickest and get results, or try to really get results? Because I don't want us to, you know, we have over $30 million in unfunded mandates, and it would be nice for us to see some of this money and fight. You know, obviously we want to fight for all 30 million, but things that you think that would be a good fight.
Meredith, I break it down, right? So we got about 35 million, 34.8 or something, right? So what's state versus what's federal, right? And then I think you can get granular. If we're going to lobby to the state, that's probably where our best, you know, chances, right? We actually gave that to Doug Smith. We handed him the presentation. He was actually pleasantly, you know, shocked, I think, that we were able to quantify it, right? So he's got that. And we said we need to focus on the state unfunded mandates because I think we have a better shot at least raising visibility versus the federal right now. So,
So if,
and then I think you might be able to get granular as to which ones.
Right,
There's
so
some
if
big
you-
ticket items out there, right?
if you
So-
guys want to specifically, because also a lot of what happens with any committee is one person has their opinion, another person has their opinion. So we had a little thing with pre-K where we thought it was one way, it really turned out to be a different way. So if we can get factual things that we can go back, Stephanie and I can go back to our committee and say, this is a fact, this is a fact, this is a fact, and then we have to fight for these things. I think that it will help streamline, it will help us have a better fight and probably get better results than if we're kind of like just ricochet rabbit all over the place.
So-
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so I guess I'll sit with cabinet and we'll look through that list and see what's the easiest.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, it's the one thing I would start with is that right now there's a considerable amount of money that they owe us for capital projects and that they have, okay, but they're refusing to give us. And that-
Prior year adjustments.
prior year adjustments, yeah.
We brought that up to him as well, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
So,
right?
so, you know,
yeah.
these are things that were approved by state ed. They agreed to them, but they're not paying them out. So I would say.
But if we owed it, they would take it
Yeah,
immediately.
what's that number off the top? Yeah, I know it was
It's 1.8 million.
12.8 million.
1.8.
Oh, 1.8 million. That's what I thought. It was
Yeah.
1.8 million. It's almost $2 million. Okay, of money that. Yeah.
Right.
that they owe us.
So we laid that on Doug Smith's doorstep as well. So we've kind of laid all of this out to our local elected officials. And that's why we're continuing to meet and try to raise the visibility. That coupled with the legislative committee, that's the avenue we're proceeding with. Okay? Great.
Ben, can you guys give us, for some of us who weren't in Doug Smith's office, can you just give us because every time we bring something up, you're like, oh, we should
Yeah.
talk about that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so that was it, right? So it's a continuation of the conversation around funding and right period, right? We started out with UPK, the first meeting, right? Then we segued into unfunded mandates. We segued into the things you just talked about, right? The money the state owes us. It was all of those types of issues, right? It was about the wealth ratio, was all of the things that we're talking about, which we charged the legislative committee with. We're just bringing it directly to his doorstep, right? So the feedback is we'll keep having meetings, right? He had his budget person from NICED, I think, on the phone. We gave him a whole bunch of information. Some of it was a shock to him. He didn't realize it. So our next meeting will, we'll get some feedback. We can go 4 at a time. So if anybody wants to join those meetings, we can rotate board members in. Have no issue with that. Let's hear from Matt. We haven't heard from him all night, so let me jump in.
Sorry. To Meredith's point, though, is there a way? Does anyone take minutes of those meetings? Like, can we get like just like a blurb of how the meeting went?
We can do that moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took notes, but I'm looking back on them and they weren't that detailed. This isn't them. These are other notes. I had minor notes. Look, that's just that. And I don't even know some of it. I just wrote down what I was thinking. But for going forward, we'll make sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Go ahead, Mike.
So actually, this actually lends a little more credence to what we talked about before. I think maybe yourself and Stephanie should get with Ed and Patty and write a memo prior to this November 12th meeting of all these issues. In preparation for your meeting with us, Doug, we'd like to have some information about where you stand and what's going on with these particular items. So this will be a productive meeting because, we really need to know from him, what can you do for us? When can you do it? By what date certain? For our planning purposes. I didn't want to say that, but someone said, "What have you done?"
Yeah, I'll look to administration if Patty, you can help have
Yeah,
somebody
use Ed,
document
use
that stuff.
Patty.
That'd be great.
Let's start that as a rolling
And
after
that's
every meeting.
That's the plan, Mike. That's why we're holding our elected officials accountable to meet with us and try to move these issues forward.
Yep. Okay, good.
Steph, Sabrina.
It's okay. But also to add to that, I know sometimes in previous years where we said it's beyond our elected officials where they stand with us on certain things. It's the people who are holding the majority of the different parts of Senate, etc. So maybe he can then direct us. Well, who should we be targeting for this issue? If you're not the direct
And that's,
person
I think
who-
that's what you guys are doing. That's what we all.
Yeah. So that's
which is
really it,
expanding our
because-
scope, which is, I think we as a board talked about that and charged the legislative committee, which is get outside. I'm looking at Paul because he's got all the contacts in different committees to help drive that, right? Because yeah, historically, everybody goes to our local guy, but yes, he's one person, a ranking member in the minority party. So it's very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult. Yep.
And then the other
And that's
thing
what I
is,
think our legislative committee has been helping identify those people.
I know not every district has committees like we do, but has our legislative committee maybe seen from other districts around us that if they have a legislative committee, that for these big ones like we just brought up, that we can join forces and see what they're doing or
I'm
tackle?
attending Middle Countries next
Okay.
week before our legislative meeting. I was going to ask if I should bring our chair people, but I have to ask them permission. So if you guys are okay with me bringing our chair people, because then I would appreciate the chair people not participating and just observing to see how they do, because I'm going to try to hold myself to that same standard. It's not going to work,
Gonna be
but
hard.
yes. So we'll just walk in and we'll be very respectful, but I'm going to find out if they'll let our chair people go, because I think that'll be really helpful if we could see what other districts are doing, and then sometimes, work with them in some capacity on issues that overlap.
Right.
Go ahead, Mike.
So a future discussion item, I not related to budget, not related, but I think we need to discuss with the public and say what's going on with the voting machines, right? Suffolk County issued that letter. They no longer can provide the voting machines. We either got to buy them or we got to pay for them now, or are we going to go to paper, which I am not opposed to, but we guess we should discuss that.
We could put it on one of the next meetings. Yep.
I want the people
Just to give some context. So the
'cause
Suffolk
otherwise
County,
we'll
I
be
guess,
accused of
Suffolk
not
County
saying
came down and
anything,
said,
right?
we're not providing voting machines anymore. The districts, you can either have our old ones, first come, first serve, or buy new ones, or go to paper ballots, right? So
Yeah, correct. So they
Okay.
issued us a lovely letter saying that they're no longer providing them, but we can purchase them at a large cost. They will no longer service them, train anybody on them, produce the ballots for them. So our costs just skyrocketed.
Oh, it's a good thing that we centralized our voting to this one location now, so we have
Correct.
better control over it, right?
I think that's also the reason I'm not initially panicking,
Right.
because we have successfully done a paper ballot election and vote before. So many other districts surrounding have reached out to me already, inquiring about how we ran that election and how
Sure,
it
you're a role
went.
model. Look at that. It's great.
Look at us. So we're working with legal counsel and just getting
For a
some
free
guidance
ride,
on
yeah.
how to move forward.
Yeah, if we can get on next, let's get it on a future meeting. Yep. Yeah, no, Meredith.
I also want to know, like, if you think that ship has sailed, or if you think that we could vocalize how disgruntled we are about it to Suffolk County, and maybe kind of fight that.
I can
Um,
share that. Coming from the Superintendent's Association, that ship has sailed.
Okay.
And at this point, we just have to now determine how we're going to be working with it.
Okay.
Rob?
And
Okay, good.
just a breakdown of the different costs that we can present to the public, like paper ballots versus machines purchasing and all that.
Okay. Rob?
Allison, are they providing the machines to our buildings when they use them for their elections, Suffolk County and town
For
elections?
their elections,
Yes.
for primaries, yes.
So they won't drop them off there when they use our buildings?
They're actually moving to a different machine altogether. It's going to be more of a touch screen where you actually don't have ballots. You vote on the screen. So they're doing away with the whole old fleet that we've been using. They claim that they're outdated, unserviceable, things like that. And that's why they're moving to the new ones. But we would not have access to those.
Do we charge them when they use our buildings for elections?
We do. We are given a very minimal amount. And it's not even our rate. They provide their rate
Their
to
rate.
us.
And the other option is we don't give them our buildings, right?
For using our buildings,
And we have an option though not to use our buildings?
we have tried several times and it's no luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's, go ahead.
You said we've tried and we had no luck. So there's no policy that we could create that we don't want that, because it is dangerous to have elections in schools. And that's why we don't
Right.
have elementary kids in school on election day and all of that.
Right.
But
We have fought many times. One of our buildings in particular is, more of a difficult space to
Right.
hold voting in. It's a little less confined as some of our other buildings. We have told them that we will not use that building. We will move it to a firehouse. We will move it to a community center, and their attorneys have gotten involved and basically squashed it. So I believe that it is some, I don't know, law as to a public building they have access to.
Anything else, guys, for future discussion items? Okay. All right. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation as well as contracts. Have a motion by Michael, second by Meredith. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Good night.